Okay, I appreciate everyone joining today. I'm Brad Bush with Strategy for AI, and today our topic is AI Shamans. We're going to examine how AI is able to look into the future and forecast trends, especially in human behavior and things such as fashion styles and social trends and things like that, which can really help businesses, especially businesses that deal with consumers, to make sure that they recognize those trends and can react to those trends. A few things about this presentation. It was made completely with AI, including the layout and the pictures, although I edited it quite a bit. The ideas are mine. The topics and research were done some by AI, some by myself. I tried to include all of the references, so you're going to get the video and the updated slide deck after this presentation. So with that, we'll get started. My goal in starting Strategy for AI was to make AI more human-centric. So these topics, I'm hoping, resonate with you as a leader in businesses to try and make AI a more human-based technology so that you can make sure that your teams can use AI in a way that raises them up, allows them to communicate better, allows them to be more creative, and allows them to be more strategic, which I think are the human traits that AI is not yet good at. It may eventually get better at those things. And so this is a great topic. All of the types of research that companies used to do to predict trends are now being able to be done much better by AI. So this is a great example. In 2024, just last year, Heuritech's AI correctly predicted that this year, the coastal grandmother aesthetics would dominate fashion, and it's helped their customers generate 47 million in additional revenue. And I thought it was pretty amazing how this one picture was such an amalgamation of that fashion trend, and it really is one of the pictures that I think looks the least AI generated. Of course, the hands are in the pocket and the background is blurred. And maybe there are just a lot of photographs of this like out on the internet for it to pull from, but it seems to be a really great photograph in my view. I would have had a hard time guessing that this was AI generated. It looks exactly like the kind of photograph that you would see in a Getty Images or something to pull out to represent this. And according to a Harvard study, AI systems are 95% more accurate in positioning the prediction of cultural trends, and they outperform humans in that regard 340%. So let's see a few things of how we can take some of this and show some examples and show actionable insights towards that. So here's really the full cost of cultural blindness. There is that if you expand internationally, it typically requires 7 years to reach profitability if you don't have the proper cultural intelligence. If you don't understand the markets that you're expanding in, you can reap 7 years of profitability gap. And in the worst case, like it says in bullet number 2, you can have a huge failure. So Walmart went into Germany, they didn't understand the market, and after years of losses and customer rejection, they pulled out of the market, and it led to over $1 billion in failure. Poor data quality is also at the bottom of that list. So down at the bottom, the references are for the first is in the first bullet, and the second two is the second bullet down below, and the last one is the last bullet. So this one also relates to that annual cost, and it's about 12.9 million annually in missed opportunities and mistakes, that according to poor data quality. And finally, you get a 70% project failure rate in these misaligned expectations due to cultural awareness, just because companies don't understand how to predict the cultural changes, especially when they change markets. This is being completely accelerated because the change of cultural um, outliers is quickening. So a cultural moment lifespan is only 6 to 8 weeks before it peaks. And so you have to react to these trends quickly to create buzz in your business or to just change your strategy because something culturally has changed. The real problem has been traditionally it's taken businesses 3 to 6 months to identify these trends using standard techniques of customer sentiment, customer satisfaction surveys, looking at their customer data in their CRM, and pulling back and analyzing all of that through their normal methodologies has taken 3 to 6 months. So you can see how if it takes 3 to 6 months and the trends are changing every 12 to 16 weeks, which the peak would be at the top of that, that you really just have misalignment. A case study by Rehab AI showed that their traditional generation took about 312 hours, and their AI generated it in about 10% of the time, so a 90% reduction in the time it took. So the AI could generate the similar insights in only about 32 hours. So in the service industry, which is what I'm targeting with Strategy for AI, this sector has a great opportunity to really take advantage of these trends analysis, generate AI market value through the dominance of the service sector in AI. Today is 53% of AI value belongs to the service sector. If a company has higher competitive intelligence, this type of understanding of how the competitors are going to react and how the market is going to react, they get a 23% higher return on investment. And culturally intelligent organizations over their competitors perform 35% better, and they retain 30% of their customers over competitors. So these are big stats, and I have one chart at the end that has where some of these stats come from. But from a service-based business perspective, it's really important that you look, even if you're a small business, how can we get these trends? And I'm going to talk next in the next couple of slides. What are the ways that we can do that? So it's not just what we should do, but how are we going to do it? So let's talk a little bit about how we can do that. So there is a 4-layer approach to building these AI implementation models for intelligence that can predict the future. The first is to ingest a lot of data. And what that means is typically behavioral data, and most of that can be gained through social media. And so it's best that you either look at your behavioral analysis from your consumers, if you can get that through sentiment. But if you're a small-based business, you can look at how they're actually performing on your website, how your website is performing, how your social media is performing, and how your competitors' social media is performing. And so you can pull all of that in, and then you can do pattern recognition using AI for slang evolution, for customer sentiment evolution. You can do computer vision analysis to see if there is different patterns in what people are sharing in your industry. And with all of that, then you can create a prediction engine. And this doesn't have to be complex. This can be relatively high level. I'm going to show some complex versions, but I'm also going to talk about some high level versions of how you can do this. So either in real time or in reporting over time, you can get cultural context of how these models are working and see how this machine-based intelligence can predict what's next in your industry. And at the end, what you really want to do is create a loop that ties it back to your sales and marketing teams through your CRM so that they can have personalized outreach to your customers, especially if you're doing service-based selling. Your service-based selling should be at a predictable customer level sales and marketing strategy. That way you can personalize these to where you see the market is heading and optimize your campaigns, and then track those campaigns and track those outreaches specifically to customers to make sure this is all working. So that's the key. Create a cycle that makes sure that all of this is working. So we're going to do a quick success story. A lot of this is on the consumer side. I think that the tools are just now at the level where smaller companies, medium-sized companies even, can handle this based on where AI is today. In the past, it was things like Google's deep research and IBM's Watson that were applied to these big consumer-based companies. So I'm going to use that as an example. But now you're able to use some of the tools that I'm going to show you later to do the same thing. But let's take BMW as an example. So BMW was getting way behind in their driving very generic messages to all of their diverse audiences. Their market research cycles were, like I talked about earlier, 6 months. Their competitors were gaining lots of market share through more culturally agile approaches by sharing interesting things and more relevant things through social media. So their traditional market research was too slow for that cultural cycle, as we talked about. So what did they do to change that? So here's what they did. So they did exactly what we were talking about before, and I'm going to go through each of those. They created data sources across social listening across all their 16 countries that they were selling into, their major 16 countries. They're selling into more than that. Then they took IBM Watson and took the social media analysis and built content personalization for each of their key target customer profiles. And then they integrated that into their CRM and their marketing automation systems so that got fed back in to their target customers and in real time could do sentiment analysis, cultural context recognition, and personalized content back into their customers. And let's see what happened when they did that. So this is the documented results of that. They ended up with 30% more increased social media engagement and a 15 times faster response to the social trends that were out there. That allowed them not only to have first mover advantage of these cultural trends, but it reduced their risk and exposure to stepping in it on the PR side. As everybody knows, you don't want to do something that can go viral for the wrong reasons. I think in today's world, the old adage of there's no bad press is actually probably wrong. And then finally, they were able to continue to raise their pricing because they had a premium price justification because they were generating more cultural connectedness to the company. So they didn't just improve their marketing, they transformed their whole cultural connectedness and cultural intelligence to their customer. So this is super important. So what are the lessons of that for service-based businesses? So the number one is start with social selling. Listen to what's happening in your social selling platforms. And if you're a B2B business, it may be that you're feeding in semi-manually or manually what you see in LinkedIn into a small set of places where AI could look at it for you. Some of this could be manual to begin with AI overlooking some of that manual work. And then the second thing is to integrate with your existing systems. Don't rebuild. Integrate with your current capabilities, connecting your AI into your CRM tools. And then finally, measure. How is it working? Are you getting engagement from the customer? Are you getting better cultural alignment with your customer? And then scale gradually. Make sure that the first one that you work on works and that you can see the return on investment, and try something different after you're sure that one's working. So here's a few things below on different parts of the service-based organization. So marketing, you can optimize campaigns, as we talked about that BMW did. Sales, you can enhance your client proposals to understand that you know the deeper market insights that are coming. Public relations, if you have a crisis, you'll know that you have early warning systems directing that. And then finally, on the product side, you can align your creative concepts, both software and hardware, to better cultural understanding to make those preferences match. Here's a quick view of a platform selection, and some of this gets into tool gobbledygook, so I won't push on this, but I wanted to have it in the chart. At open source solutions, and these are really, if you're going to have an IT team build it on their own, TensorFlow and PyTorch are ways to do deep research and deep learning, and OpenCV is a program that allows you to look at visual content and find pattern recognition between that visual content. For small to medium-based businesses, actual tools that you can use. The one that I use the most is Claude ChatGPT Deep Research. So if you do deep research through those tools at the $20, even lowest level, you can do a few deep researches a month. And if you ask specifically for cultural research, it'll go out and look for those types of patterns. So it's not going to find the pattern recognition that we're talking about, but at least it's looking for that across the web. Sprout Social is a truly social-based platform that does AI-powered social listening. So if you want to go and listen to your competitors and your own AI accounts, your own social accounts with AI, then you can pay for this tool. It's not super cheap, but if that's something that you feel could be helpful for your business, then it's a great tool to do that. And if you're not using HubSpot, it's a great tool also for doing some of this cultural intelligence, because it can hook into some of the tools that I'll talk about below. And then finally, Buffer is just one of many tools, and HubSpot is also one of many tools on the CRM side that's starting to have these AI tools built in. Buffer is one of the tools that allows you to do AI content optimization, so you can feed the content that you find into that. There's many more that allow you to do content optimization out to your social media. Finally, if you're a little bit larger based company, you may want to look at some of these. Google Cloud AI is where you can get all your analytics, and you can put them through the AI on the Google side. N8N is a workflow development tool that I use to develop workflows across many, many different tools. And I did mention IBM Watson. It's a much more expensive tool, but if you're doing this type of thing, especially on the retail side, it's a great tool to look at, and they'll come in and let you spend a lot of money on it. A few common questions. What's the accuracy of these AI prediction systems? We talked about some of this, but some of this is in the later research that I show. The leading systems are getting 78 to 95% accuracy of general trends. And I showed you that one case where they got 95% predicting the trend 6 to 8 weeks out. So these are in comparison to traditional human methods, which were at 50%. So this is a pretty big rise in this type of program. Secondly, how much does this cost? Implementation costs can range from $1,000 to $50,000. I know that's a big range per month, and you don't have to continue to spend. It's sort of an implementation cost. You put it in a monthly program, and then you'll see if it works, and then they'll have lower costs ongoing. Typically over a 3 to 6 month range for a beginning ROI project, you'd spend $5,000 to $15,000 per month on that type of project. But as you can think about it, you'll have pretty large return on investment if you can get some of the same kind of returns that the chart showed earlier. What if our industry doesn't seem cultural? And that's in single quotes, but I just put it in double quotes. But I think every business, even B2B businesses, have some cultural context to them, such as financial services need to understand what regulatory things are coming. If you're in the legal business, you need to know, maybe predict how political climate might be affecting the interpretation of laws, things like that. I think all of those types of things are going to be able to be predicted more and more by AI. And what about data privacy and bias concerns? Now, this is a big piece, and I think all companies should be asking this question. Leading platforms like ChatGPT and Claude, if you're signing up for an enterprise account, they have put in design to you can make sure that you're signing up for the GDPR and CCPA versions of those programs. You have to make sure you do it correctly. All of them now are doing much better at their bias detection and algorithms, but you really should have a human in the loop at the end of these things. Nothing should run through an AI and then immediately post to your social media, because you really want to make sure you continue to have humans in the loop to apply what we talked about earlier, the strategy, human connectedness, and creativity into the final output that AI comes up with that will run through your social media channels, communications back to your customers, and input in your CRM for your sales team to use. So what should a 90-day quick start, fast runway look like across AI? So days 1 through 30, assess and plan, figure out what you want to do, your capabilities, what you want your technology stack to do, get a small team, train them to understand what you're trying to do, and then pick a couple, maybe even one, AI impact projects. I don't like to call them trials or anything like that. I like to call it an AI impact project because I want businesses to pick a project that will be something that they implement for the long term, even if it's a smaller project. And then days 31 through 60, figure out which social media to monitor and start doing that. Implement your model and your testing for your AI impact project. Start to think about your CRM integration, and if you can do that, and some cultural trend tracking through some of these tools. And finally, in the last month, you can start to measure some of that to see if that first project, and start to figure out if that had a return on investment and how your customers are seeing that, and if it's having that impact on the business that you want, and start to expand those programs across your whole business. So this is some of the ways that you can start to implement this within your business. Well, that's the presentation for today. I really appreciate it. So it says next week's webinar, but it's actually going to be next month's webinar. I'm going to start moving these out to once a month. So you'll see this for the first of the month, next month. I was trying to create too much content all at once, and I think it's going to be better to have it once a month. But if you like these, let me know, and I'll continue to make them. I really like making them. A few things that we can do. We have a 30-minute briefing that we could have with your company for free. We'll do an assessment. We'll do half-day trainings with your executive team, where we bring you in and try and figure out some projects that might be great initial projects to help implement AI. And then we can do a 4-week implementation of those projects where we can accelerate those rapid, quick wins for you. So we appreciate it. If there are any questions, I'm going to quickly take everybody off of mute. And the last chart, which I won't show if you want to get the charts, is where all the references are. So. Okay, everybody's off of mute, and I appreciate everybody here. And if you have any questions, we'll trying to keep these to 30 minutes, but I'm willing to go a little bit longer. So any questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you.